What up, nerds, and welcome to another bewitching episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 415, recorded Sunday, March 19th, 2023. Tonight, we're talking about the final Patreon pick of the first quarter of the year. This was chosen by ya boy, Matt S. The movie is The Witching Season, not hour, from 2015. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy, Randeezy. What's up, man?
Hello, gentlemen.
You know, I gotta say, I'm very pleased to be here on an evening where somebody else was responsible for misleading the public as to what movie we're watching. That makes me feel good.
Dude,
feels good to be on the other side of that.
It's so hard for me to say The Witching Season for some reason. It's hour just flies out of my mouth every time. I can't stop.
The Witching Hour. It's one word.
Witching Hour. Fucking A. Sorry for confusing everybody last episode. Last but not least, calling in from South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Untimely Stains. I gotta say, I love Matt. Matt, I love you. Okay?
Oh, boy. That sounds like a front load if I've ever heard of
love
one.
You.
But this is near unacceptable for you to make us watch this Halloween film just as spring has hit. Like literally the weather just broke. I've just started hiking. The blooms are popping, and man, I just had a hard time this week.
Matt is all about those untimely stains. He loves them.
Mm-hmm.
These stains are out of season. Okay,
Matt is blowing his load early. I tell you what.
Hey, it's always Halloween. Always.
No, it's not.
Pumpkins.
Yes, it is. Pumpkins. Love the pumpkins bump. Yeah, man, thanks for picking this week's flick. We do appreciate it. Before we get into the review, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Here's another reminder. Our April poll is currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this April. The theme for April is weed, because 420 and shit. The three movies to vote between are Troll 2, This Is the End, and Scary Movie.
Whoa, Mom. Hey, how those numbers looking?
Oh, hello. Scary Movie is still winning with roughly 43% of the vote. Troll Deuce is in second place with like 33%. This Is the End is in last place.
Oh, well,
and what are the
happy
numbers on
waza
that one,
to
Bob?
us all.
Go ahead.
Can't do math. 28, something like that. I don't know.
I think they're all around 43%. So
43, 44. It's 129%, you know.
Yeah.
Get those votes in before the end of March. We'll see what movie we're talking about this April. It's looking like Scary Movie, which is, again, incredibly shocking to me, personally.
You look shocked, Bob. You can't handle it.
Oh my God.
We've had a lot of play on our Scream episodes. I don't know if a Scary Movie choice is so unexpected.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. In other Patreon news, we dropped a brand new minicast last Friday. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. Your boy Untimely Stains over here was talking about a movie called Baby Ruby last Friday, which sounds like a fun little romp.
Yeah, well, I feel like not a lot of people have heard about this, which is weird because when I was doing my review, like a bunch of things were kind of popping up about it. And maybe it was because of Women in Horror Month. I recorded it back in February, but I really want to say that I think that this is like a really solid, going to be under the radar film. Like when we do our rating, if this doesn't pick up any more steam, I feel like at the end of the year, this is going to be one of my kind of like hidden gems for the year. Cause it's got our boy Jon Snow in it, and everyone kind of does a good job acting. I think the directing is done pretty well, but also just like the the subject matter of new motherhood and like the stuff that they cover in that and like how well they cover it, I think is not something you see a lot in cinema. So I think it's got like a unique take, and I think it handles it pretty well. And it was just kind of like refreshing to kind of like finally see that. And especially like in a horror film too, it was interesting in how they play off those kind of like real life fears and anxieties and stuff that happen. So yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. So I wanted to do a review on that one, but I still don't think a lot of people have seen it, unfortunately.
Well, get up off your
that
ass
evangelist
and watch Baby Ruby.
That was me last year when I was talking about You
here.
Won't Be Alone. It took everyone forever to see that shit.
Nobody knows what
I liked it before it was cool.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
They're so dumb.
I am the cream.
I am the cream.
The baby cream.
Ooh, okay.
Bob.
Check out
I
Baby
don't
Ruby.
want to unpack that. Thank you.
Leave it packed. Leave it in the box.
Keep that.
Don't touch me. Well, yeah, check out Soju's thoughts on Baby Ruby over on Patreon. In other Patreon news, we reopened the You Pick the Flick tier today, actually. And we got a brand new crop of You Pick winners. Congratulations to Nicole, Gabriel, Kelvin, Naderade, and your boy Nate S. for grabbing a You Pick the Flick.
Thank you, everyone. I'm still so surprised that everyone's willing to pay us $100 to watch a movie, but you know, I appreciate it, and I'm excited to swim in those dollars.
To swim inside all
The pool
of
is
them.
nearly filled.
Yes.
So we got our lineup set for the second quarter of the year, and we look forward to seeing what flicks y'all pick. That's really all we got going on with Patreon. Juice, you got some stuff happening?
Yes, coming out on Monday the 27th, so before our next episode drops, we'll have a new Creature Comforts coming out. That's our little spin-off series, exclusive on YouTube, where we cover horror-adjacent films. And this month, I'm going to be talking with the headmistress herself, Logan, from Ghoulish University, and we are discussing The Fifth Element with Shiboy Bruce Willis.
Hell yeah.
Do you know
Pour one out?
Who are you? One of the are you like me, the person who had Cinemax in their house growing up, and
that
had
was like
that
always
movie
on?
kind of consistently on all times of the day for like
I forgot
6
it was
years?
Cinemax, but yeah. I think I mentioned that like when we talked. It was one of those films that was just like always on.
Fifth Element and
It grew
Blair
on me,
Witch Project on Skinemax.
Oh yeah,
Well,
those.
That's
You guys got the premium.
But yeah,
going to the weenie roast very much.
I'm waiting
so
for
that was a fun discussion because that's a wild movie.
I want that Creature Comforts where you get like fucking G Baby on to talk about the Blair Witch Project or some shit. Ready for that?
Maybe you should start a spin-off show where you cover all the porn parodies of horror.
Oh yeah, Severin's got you covered. You got a sponsor in Severin. I'm sure.
Honestly, that's not a terrible idea.
That would have to be called Screamin' and Creamin', right? It would have to be.
Oh my god.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Trademarked by Straight Chunk. So if you try to steal it from us,
False.
We will murder you or sue you or something.
Parody law
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, check out all the bullshit on the YouTubes. Brady, are you doing stuff? You got some shit?
Yeah, there's one thing coming up this week. I was lucky enough to be the last of the three of us to join our boy Jim over at Waxing the Porpoise, Jim and Steve. We reviewed a movie called Santa Sangre by Jodorowsky. You'll hear me struggle with that name the entire episode.
nailed it.
Yeah, it was my first Jodorowsky movie, and we had a really good conversation about it, I think. That's dropping on 3/23, March 23rd is my understanding. Keep an ear out for that, Waxing the Porpoise. Check out that show, baby.
Cool.
BB.
That's about it, though.
Last thing I want to plug here real quick. We mentioned it last week. We didn't have like a release date for it, but all three of us were able to sit in with Caitlin over on Plug It Up recently, and we talk about the Stepford Wives, and that show is going to be released April 4th. So keep your eyes and ears out for that. Plug It Up everywhere you get your podcasts.
Plug it up.
Plug it up. Plug it up.
Are we making the theme song? We're making the theme song, right?
We're gonna remix our theme song.
Here comes the Plug It Up theme song. And
Plug it up. It's gonna be recorded on Zoom, and our already messed up rhythms are gonna be.
I decided we were done talking and singing.
When it's leaking, plug it up.
Plug it up. Plug it up. Plug it up. Plug it up.
Are you tired of those untimely stains? All you got to do is plug it up.
Hell yeah, boy.
Plug it up. Plug it up. Yeah, we got it.
Nailed it.
Grow up, bro. Grow up.
That's such a good one. Oh, shit. Okay, we are getting into the main event. We're talking about the witching season, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Grow up, bro. Grow up.
Bob, I noticed that you have this box. What's up with that? That's a confusing
What's on the
box to have.
box?
It's a confusing box to have.
It is.
Your box confounds me.
What's on that?
That's what
box?
everybody says about it. It's like the lament configuration.
Yeah, you open this up and then you get fucked and murdered at the same time. That's what's going on with this.
That's the witching season.
Yeah, so this was put out by Scream Team Releasing, and I've mentioned some of their movies before, and Mikey and I talk about them somewhat regularly on Let's Get Physical Media. It's a super, obviously, low-budget outfit, and they put out movies like every year. They've got a website. You can go on there and look at their back catalog and order a bunch of shit. There's a lot of their stuff that is streaming on Amazon too, if you want to try some of stuff out. And it's I think The Barn is probably their most well-known movie. The Barn and The Barn 2.
Where did Bob go wrong? Were he and his friends sifting way too long through those Blu-ray bins? And it gets worse, he'll have no jet ski, wasting all his dough on those DVDs.
Let's go through your whole collection, Bob. One by
Bob,
one. Let's ride.
have you recorded this month's Let's Get Physical Media?
No, we're gonna do it this Friday though.
Well,
Okay,
good.
how
The
many
Steam valves need releasing.
how many movies do you have to talk about?
You gotta listen to the show, baby. I'm not spilling the
Nope,
beans.
you gotta give me a sneak peek.
You gotta
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it's higher or lower than 15?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Higher or lower than 21, Bob?
Wouldn't you like to
In my
know?
moment of glory.
Can these
All right,
blues
30 it
drink,
is.
Bob? Are they 21?
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, I would say, Matt, if you haven't seen The Barn, actually, I'd recommend checking The Barn out if you dig the witching season. But yeah, you can buy their shit pretty easily. I do have the box here. I picked this up on Amazon. You can find it pretty much everywhere. This is also streaming on Amazon Prime, so you can watch all of these on Amazon Prime. So this movie is really, it's set up like a season, like a TV show of like 5 separate episodes. They're really like 5 separate horror shorts that do connect in some sort of vague ways that aren't like super like material. But you can pick them all up on Blu-ray.
It's like an anthology.
It's an anthology.
It's like a different
with
way
no
to
wraparound.
present an anthology. Yeah.
So like each episode
Just
has
daisy
like,
chain a little bit.
yeah, they have like title credits and like, closing credits, and like they're very clearly like segmented into episodes in a way. So there's 5 on here. They are Killer on the Loose, Princess, Not Alone, They Live Inside Us, and Is That You? And They Live Inside Us is the longest short on here. It's 30 minutes. Most of these are about like, between like 8 and 12 minutes. But They Live Inside Us was eventually made into a feature-length film, which is also streaming on Amazon Prime if you want to check that out, and you can buy it from Scream
And Tubi.
And it's on Tubi apparently.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's just kind of like some information about what's going on here. This came out in 2015, and it stars a whole bunch of people that I didn't really recognize any of them. Michael Bailiff is like the creator of this. He directed the majority of the episodes, and I think he's actually in some of them as well. So he's all over this thing. The plot synopsis brought to you by the back of the box is as follows. The season never ends. The Witching Season is a 5-episode spine-tingling anthology of horror and suspense that delivers original tales of terror that capture the spirit of the Halloween season. And this also has like a director's commentary and making of features and outtakes and trailers and all kinds of bonus features and shit on it too. So there you go. The Witching Season. Sounds like this is a first-time watch for all three of us here. But General Mangs, would you recommend?
Well, not exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Is it a first-time watch, and would you recommend people check it out? Ray and Deezy, why don't you kick us off?
I had to catch myself because I've forgotten for some reason that I have seen at least the first 2 shorts of this. I think I watched them in Halloween season, maybe last year or the year before. I feel like maybe 2 years ago. And for whatever reason, I didn't finish it. I think I watched it during the day. Probably had to go take care of some shit. So yeah, it was a pretty light. It was like a Sunday afternoon, barely pay attention sort of watch at the time, I think, is my memory of it. So I couldn't remember much about it until I watched it this time. I would say that if you're looking for a very low budget, scrappy production that is clearly labor of love and not so much, not as much know-how or certainly not as much budget, then this is fine. This will fill that hole, but I don't particularly recommend it otherwise, probably.
All right. Juice, what about you?
Well, first, I would only recommend that you watch this during spooky season. That's the only appropriate time to watch this. This was a first time watch for me. And I feel like had I seen this, if I was, late night during this spooky season when I was like 12 or 13, that I would have fallen in love with it. It's kind of got this, it is low budget, but it's kind of got this element of subversion too, to some kind of regular horror tropes that I think would like really entertain or kind of like boggle the mind of a young horror fan. For me, I think it could be, or like for more experienced viewers, I feel like this could be a decent rotation. If you kind of like, are going through the same old stuff for Halloween and look for something new, I think it's got some good vibes for sure. But it's not like a must watch. I think it's just like a decent rotational piece, especially if it's like, it's a low commitment too, because you could just pop through a couple shorts that are only like 10 minutes and, and that would also give you similar vibe and be enough. So yeah, a decent watch for spooky season. Bob, how about yourself? You got this box. When did you get this box? How much was that box, Bob?
Is there anything in it?
There's nothing in it. Nothing at all.
Oh God.
I watched the first episode of this couple years ago. I think Matt had mentioned it to me a while ago, and I checked it out. I just never circled back to finish it up. So this is essentially a first time watch for me. And yeah, I would generally recommend it around the Halloween season. This is definitely like really easy breezy, low stakes kind of viewing, and you can find it on Amazon pretty easily. This is almost like for some reason when I was watching it, I was like, this is the perfect kind of thing to have on like while you're handing out candy to trick or treaters as they're coming up. It's like you don't like if you step away for a second, you're not gonna chances are miss like a major plot point or anything. And it's like definitely of the season. You got the Halloween vibes, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, nice and easy to watch is what it made me think of.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessarily like my favorite anthology by any means. There's a lot worse out there, but like, yeah, I think it's pretty decent. I'd give it a general recommendation, I think. So yeah. A light recommend from us, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty light.
Light to medium.
Yeah. So if you have not seen The Witching Season, we're going to spoil the shit out of it. And here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, you got the plot synopsis? What are we doing with this anthology plot synopsis?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
I like synopsize each one as we go because I figure we'll go through them like one at a time. So I'll just drop the synopsis for each one as we go.
That's a good plan.
All right. So the first one's up.
Yeah, first one is called Killer on the Loose, and it's definitely like a slasher short. And here goes the synopsis. So we open up with a girl being chased through the woods by a masked killer. She hides in a house on Halloween night. It appears to have been she appears to have been bound by the killer. We see like her wrists have been like damaged by something. The killer enters the house, walks up the stairs, and he finds a girl dead in her bed. We then see pictures of him and the girl together, revealing that they were indeed a couple. The girl jumps out and kills the masked dude, and then unveiling that she is indeed the killer, not the dude in the mask. And then we see a bit of a news story that reveals she was an escaped mental patient, and they were putting out an APB, saying like beware. And turns out the dude in the mask was just coming over to hang out with his girlfriend on Halloween. Bummer.
Yeah. Pretty.
So yeah,
This is like.
Okay.
Oh, so this is like this sort of sets the bar, I think, for the rest of the movie. I think that, or like if you view it as a movie, because they were like on their website, on their YouTube, and on these other situations, they refer to them as a season of shorts. So I really don't think that there was necessarily intended to be viewed all at once. You know what I mean? But
and each one opens and closes with the
credits.
Credits and the opening scene, the same music, the same shot, so
Which
it doesn't flow. Yeah.
And
I will say the opening is like got really, really, really great spooky vibes, and the music is so on point. They say who did the music. I meant to look it up. Did anybody
Killer
take
Dave?
a note?
I want to say
Slasher Dave.
Slasher Dave. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's like one of the strongest aspects of this whole anthology, this whole group of shorts, like that, the Halloweeniness, and within a lot of these films as well. Like they do the work of putting Halloween iconography in, I think, all of them. And it's kind of hard to squeeze them into a few of them. So I give them good credit for that, because it is very timely of the season. The stories don't necessarily connect directly to Halloween, but some of them do, and for the most part they're all just kind of like in that spooky zone. But yeah, as far as like this first one, like the plot is pretty baseline, right? Like there's not
mostly
a whole lot
just
to
sneaking around,
mostly cat and mouse, which there's some tension there or whatever, but like it takes itself seriously, so it sets that tone as well, that these shows take themselves seriously, these shorts. There's a little bit of humor in like maybe what's on TV or whatever, but for the most part these are trying to be scary, and I don't know that they necessarily hit that mark for me. And the stories are pretty thin, but they also have this like scrappiness to them, like, and sorry to crib off of nomenclature of Red Letter Media, but they've got this let's put on a show sort of like community group. Like it's like if the Slack channel all agreed to make a bunch of shorts together, except there was a few, like, enough know-how to really actually get one done. I think there's just enough knowledge to be dangerous going on in here, and that's kind of like what you can expect from most of these is that level of capability. I listened to some of the director's commentaries on a few of these, and Michael Bailiff, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Michael Bailiff, the creator of the series and the director of a couple of these, he said something along the lines of like he was still like pretty fresh to even writing at this point, and I think that shows through most of these.
It does, it does. It feels like like you said, it starts, and it's very tropey throughout, and really and this kind of is mostly consistent, I feel like, with a lot of this, where a lot of it comes down to kind of this punchline or this like kind of thing, which, to be fair, is, like I said, decent enough. Because this first one really sets that tone where I was like, okay, we're going to his house. She's sneaking around. She's going around. And then that happened. And it really did kind of give me this like nostalgia vibes of like, man, you know, if I was young and watching this, I that would really get me, you know, I would really find that like so great, and not be so caught up on the acting and stuff like that, because, you know, I wouldn't be as experienced and fucking jaded as I am. And so I think that would be a great experience for a young person getting into horror to kind of subvert those basic kind of tropes.
I think it works pretty well for what it's trying to do. Because like when it started, it felt like just a super cheap slasher, and I was pretty underwhelmed. I was like, he's just gonna like kill the girl, and then that's it. Like that.
Yeah.
How many times have we seen that? It's not. He's got a hockey mask on. It's not super interesting. And like, yeah, they definitely don't have any budget to work with here, so like they're leaning on the writing in this first short, and it is a nice little subversion. It's I was like, oh, okay, well they got their thinking hat on. They're trying some stuff out. It's commendable, I think. It's definitely something about like all of these Scream Team releasing movies that I've seen. They all feel like it's just purely a labor of love, and like they don't have a lot of money to throw around, and like it's commendable in that way to me that like these people are just fucking making these things through like sheer will, basically. They're just making them happen.
They're trying it. You know?
Yeah, I respect that, and I think this is a nice way to open up this anthology or this series. I think it's a pretty cool way to do it.
I fully and totally agree. I'm sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
No. I was saying, I think it's overall successful in what it is and what it's trying to do. I think this first short is generally overall successful.
I'm thinking that like this whole thing, like I don't know that I totally agree with I know they were trying to do a rug pull with this one and with a few of them, and I think this one is probably one of the less successful ones for me.
Okay.
To me, it was like pretty clear by the lack of context we were given right at the beginning that that's where this was headed. Like, if you're going to have an end to this, it can't just be like guy catches her or she gets away. There's got to be something to it. I kind of wish that it was something a little less. Like, to me, it was pretty. That's like the obvious thing to do. Is my feeling towards what happens in the end.
I will say some of the later shorts are just straight ahead. Like, you think something's going to happen, and they just happen, and then that's it.
No, there are a couple of those for sure. Absolutely true. And I'm glad it wasn't that. I agree with that, and I'm glad they did try that. To me, it didn't really like land as intended because I just kind of saw the writing on the wall from the beginning, and I think that's true of most of the rug pulls in this, which is fine because again, like this. I'm so ready to forgive so many of things that I would not forgive in just about any professional production. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this to me, it's like gauging Jack O versus like fucking John Carpenter. It's not fair to do that. They're not the same thing. They're labors of love, and like I would say that in comparing it to another low budget production that's clearly like filmed in people's backyards and shit, like Jack O is one of those, and Halloweenish or whatever. Both labors of love. One is clearly more successful at being the frightful, scary situation that it's trying to be, and that's this one. Jacko was not scary. It was kind of like it was laughable to me in a lot of ways. And it's easy to poke fun at, and this one is to a certain extent, but not to that extent. And for them to get that far along is very commendable. So yeah, I will I'm not going to be as harsh on that, but I have to note that these mostly hit with a thud for me, with the exception of the feeling like an affinity for the filmmakers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an interesting thing to look at pieces like this after reviewing so many horror films because, like I particularly, and we all do, but, I kind of have this like checklist I go down where I'm like, okay, how is the acting? How is the budget utilized? How is, how did they achieve their goal? How is the music? How is the score? And stuff like that. And like, even looking at these, I feel like some conscious decisions were made to say, I am limited. I'm beginning to write. I'm a horror fan. I want to do these things. I have this limited budget. And in that, I feel like some good choices were made to split these up into a bunch of little segments that kind of like sometimes hit with a rug pull or something to kind of utilize that experience. I think it's smart because they hit on some good things like the vibes. Like we said, the opening with the music and stuff, bam, yeah, you're able to get that and you're able to do it on super low budget and they're static shots and they're just like cool. Sometimes you see the fucking fog rolling through, but it achieves what it needs to achieve. And so even on these super like small things, limited budget, very limited know-how, you can still hit positive marks on some of the things that I'm regularly checking for on, bigger budget, regular like directed things. So I think it's good to like have these kind of things challenge the idea of like, no, it doesn't have to be, all the bells and whistles. You can do things scrappy and still like have some positive vibes around it or like really nail some of the things you're going for. And I think like this is a good example of that in some way.
Totally.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
I
don't know what there is to say. Sorry, Bob, go ahead.
I said they've got the classic Night of the Living Dead on the television because
every time
if
you're making a low budget horror movie, here's the Scream rules of low budget horror. If you're in a scene that features "We're Coming to Get You, Barbara" playing on the TV, you are fucked. You, sir, are a fucked person. You need to get the hell out of there.
Don't watch Night of the Living Dead on Halloween because you're going to get reamed.
Yeah, by a plastic knife.
By the lack of trademark.
I will say that there's a music video that this really reminded me of, and I looked it up, and it came out 12 years ago, and I can't help but feel like this was inspired. I could be wrong about that, but it's "We Are Water" by Health. If you've ever explored the Straight Chilling YouTube, there is a playlist that I created a long time ago and have like sometimes add to it of horror music videos. And this is one of them. So Health is the band name. We Are Water is the song name. And it has a very similar kind of vibe to this. The typical like girl running through the woods, but it's got kind of like a rug pull too. And it kind of subverts like what you think is going to happen. And like when I was watching this, I just couldn't help but think of this music video. And so I was like, definitely got to give that another watch and give it a shout out when we cover this. So wanted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Check her out.
I don't recall that video specifically, but the approach here is so strong with the Halloween vibes. It sets us up with a very, very soft entry in terms of like I immediately wanted this movie to blow my mind and be fucking incredible. So like I just immediately was endeared to it, is I guess what I'm getting at. Like I wanted the best for this movie.
Randy's little description there, it's like it was a soft entry and I wanted it to blow my mind. I was endeared.
I am the queen.
I'm endeared to your soft entry.
So sexual.
Blow my mind. Anything else you guys have to mention about this first short before we roll on?
I don't think so. There's not much here.
I would say that there's the one I made some notes on these in general, but there were some things that, like in the cat and mouse segment, that I was like, that's a little bit of a stretch to think that like he can't see her hiding there or whatever.
Yeah,
but those are like smaller things. Yeah, I'm like any angle except dead on, you're right there. Like,
hey, God.
I thought the twist was kind of expected, and then I did like I liked that they used
to lose.
I did like that they used Night of the Living Dead as soundtrack. They used the set like as a diegetic way of putting music in there. I really thought that was a smart and thrifty way to do things. And then I just thought the exposition coming from the news and the guy with the worst fake mustache since Sleepaway Camp. That was a little unnecessary. Maybe
that was good.
You gotta have a mustache to tell the news.
You have to.
That's the law.
You have to see the glue around the edges of it too. You gotta be able to see it. Reflecting the light. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the second segment. So this one is called Princess, and here is the plot synopsis. We see a mom and her daughter move into a new house. They find a box of stuffed animals in the basement. The little girl finds a bunny and asks to sleep with it for the night. The next day, the mom calls the previous owners and offers to ship the toys to them. They adamantly say, do not do that. They don't want the toys. That night, the bunny grabs a knife. Turns out it's alive, and tries to kill the mom, but the girl wraps him up in a blanket and bashes him real good. She then cuts the bunny's head off.
I start bashing.
She cuts the bunny's head off, and then the next night, we see a giant stuffed panda slowly stand up next to the little girl's bedside, and then we roll them credits. What do we think about this one?
Yeah, so now they're establishing like we're gonna do these kind of tropes. So we had the slasher, now we got the possessed toy, and again, there's some elements that they're able to capture well. The doll, looks creepy and old.
It's a good design.
Retro. Yeah, it's a good design. But also too, I feel like there was something here that we didn't really get in the first one because I feel like of the perspective. But there's like this scene where the doll's just like watching TV they do this
YouTube
goofy ass
segment.
Infomercial or whatever.
It was Chef Tony's Miracle Shiv,
and every male actor in this movie basically is the same guy, James Morris, who's also a director of I think 3 of 5 shorts.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. I may have it back.
It kind of made me think of the Chris LaMartina's what is it? Halloween deal.
I'm not going to attempt to tell you.
Yeah,
I'm going to dodge that bullet for the first time.
The out there Halloween mega special tape.
Well, any of them, just like with the commercials. But this one was definitely more tongue in cheek, where it's like, here I am, I'm cutting up this rotisserie chicken, and I feel like they leaned into a little bit more the ridiculous aspect of it. Like it's hard to fucking cut up a rotisserie chicken anyways.
It's like cutting up a rotisserie chicken and then having your co-host, just because you need something to argue over, cut up a pepper. The chicken's made. What the fuck are you cutting peppers for? I don't understand what this is. But I really thought it was like, at that moment, that was before anything truly menacing had happened. And I was like, is this going to be like Chucky, except instead of killing people, he just watches YouTube tutorials all day long? That's all he wants. Because that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
But it's a very tired premise, unfortunately. It is a very achievable thing to do on a low budget, though, to have just a doll and like rig it up so that it looks like it's moving. They don't even necessarily do a whole ton of that, which works to its benefit. They don't show a lot of movement for fear, I guess, of for lack of funding, certainly, but probably for fear of having it look Trilogy of Terror-esque, which,
it still looked like... Not rough necessarily, but you could see that at one point, I think, when it throws the knife up on the bed and then somebody's clearly just using their hand to lift it.
Yeah. It's kind of tough to kayfabe that away. This is the weak link to me, this particular one.
I personally agree with that. This is my least favorite of the 5.
I think me too.
There was like one way they showed movement that was like, I got a bit of a kick out of, like, the mom tries to wash the bunny. She throws him in the washing machine, goes outside and comes back in, and the bunny has like crawled out of the machine, and we see like a trail of suds leading to it, like sitting on the couch or wherever it is.
Yeah,
I liked that. It's like a really creepy moment because you're like, nobody's home. How the fuck did that happen? And we don't have to like see this doll crawling on the ground, which would look bad,
Yeah.
So I think that was a nice like workaround in that moment, anyways.
Well, I don't know. This will be toward my bottom. I'm not 100% sure it's my least favorite, but it's weird though because it is the only one that kind of has, or it definitely has the strongest like goofiness factor, or playing into like kind of the ridiculous like silliness aspect, which I think in concept works well for these kind of shorts. The other one did have some okay tension, but I'm not like, when you're on a limited budget, it's going to be really difficult to actually scare me or present some very fresh new ideas. So I would think more of them would lean into that kind of goofiness, make you kind of chuckle, giggle, make it more endearing in that way. But this is really the only one that kind of does. And so I kind of want to give it some extra props just for that.
Make me laugh.
It didn't make me giggle. It didn't hit me that way, I guess.
Yeah. It wasn't particularly funny to me either, but it felt lighthearted, more lighthearted than the others.
Yeah. I wasn't like busting a guy. I just like recognized that, like, oh, it's sitting there and watching a TV. I was like, oh, okay, that's
Chef Tony's funny. Miracle Shift. It was intended to be funny for sure. That's not serious.
And then,
that part. I mean, that started as a wave of those on TV jokes. Like, but
that's also where we see our first connection, because in that television short thing, they have the mask from the first one. And so that's where you kind of, so that's where you start to see like some connections, which then carries over into the third short as well.
Now, a cinematic universe, this is not, but it is certainly
Marvel's about to
certainly
come
drops its homages to itself, to its other entries, which that's fun. I like that. But yeah, I don't like, other than the TV bit, I think this tried to take itself seriously. Like all of them, I think for the most part, took themselves seriously with some levity thrown in, and tried to be scary. And I don't think this one hit scary. To me, it was pretty hokey. You have to come at it from a pretty unique angle to surprise me with a possessed doll story. And this, I think, does like kind of the most basic version of it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's called Princess. I don't know what, like, the thing calls itself Princess, I guess. Like, it's even how it works is a little unclear, which is not necessarily a ding, but in absence of scares, I wouldn't mind some interesting lore, but whatever.
Yeah, these shorts are breezing by at like 8 minutes, 10 minutes. But they're
the problem with this one too. So the first one had the benefit of you're chasing, and so nobody has to speak. So this is where we get like the mom talking. She is not doing a good job.
It's not the best time. That's another thing, though, is that like I don't know about her specifically, but like a lot of this is like, again, going back to that feeling of it being like a community effort, or like an effort, a labor of love, if you will. A lot of these actors in here are actors, but a lot of them are also like friends and family and stuff, like filling in spots. I'm not saying that that's what that one was doing, but I'm saying that like this production, it wasn't getting, a ton of actors.
Somebody got paid in weed.
Yeah, or you got pizza and beer on the day, and you made a short in 6 hours in an afternoon or something.
You want to be famous, don't you?
I've made a terrible short in a day. Like it's for fun, and it's out of love for doing it, So like I give credit for that, but you're right. Like that's when we start getting like lines and stuff, line reads. Some of them falter for me. Even the best actors in this to me are kind of like, not quite hitting
lower tier.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm not going to be super harsh on that, because you're not expecting that.
Your neighbor down the street, you're like, hey man, I come hold this light. I just don't have enough hands right now. Like, come on. Have a slice of pizza, grab yourself a fucking peeber. Let's roll.
A peeber. Man, at least go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're gonna shit on the peepers, Randy? Damn. All right.
The peeper's fine, but I mean, if I'm gonna be holding the light, that's hard work, man.
Is that Miller High Life?
Give me some hard liquor.
You got. I want to get.
You want the champagne of beers, Randy? That's what.
Randy demands the red stag.
Maybe do it, did he?
If Randy's on the set,
if you try and give me red stag, I am leaving. I'm just letting you know.
Malort or bust.
Just want to put that out there. Yeah, I don't. You don't scare me off that easily, but red stag will do it.
I got the Chicago specialty. It's called Malort.
The Chicago handshake.
Yes, that's what the boy likes.
It's exotic.
You don't know nothing about it. Do you guys have anything?
I'm sick. I want to throw up.
Anything else you want to mention about Princess before we move on?
Nah, move on.
All right. Next up, we're rolling into a short called Not Alone. And this is sort of like the the alien bit here. So here goes the synopsis on this one. Late night radio show talking head says there's been several alien sightings. We see a man in bed. He wakes up as his radio is playing, and he sees a shadowy figure standing in the corner of his room. He walks over and tries to bash it with a baseball bat. It appears that it's just a coat rack that was scaring him. He walks to the bathroom, washes his face, and then goes back to bed. And that motherfucker just straight up gets abducted by aliens. Roll credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this one's super short. I think it's the shortest one. It's like 9 minutes with the opening and closing credits.
Yeah, it's very short. But I kind of like this is the first one I think was successfully scary in any capacity.
I like
it. Me too.
It's real straightforward.
I think this is my favorite one, honestly.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, really? Okay.
I think so.
I mean,
no frills to it.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Really? You got a creepy, shadowy figure. And then, like, when we never actually see the alien, but we see like its shadow moving along the wall in a way that's pretty effective. And then we see this guy sort of like lift out of his bed.
Hot dog fingers.
Yeah, hot dog fingers. Yeah, it's like it's extremely low budget. I mean, this had to have cost like fucking 50 cents to make, like no money at all whatsoever. And it's effective in what it's doing.
That it does have some effects, and they look good because of the choices that they made. Like we said, the shadow. It's like good to do shadows on a limited budget because it's just like on the wall, even when it's got to be animated. So that's like they pulled that off. And even when you're looking directly at the shadow creature, I mean, I've given some shit to old Flanagan because he always goes to that like all black thing, and even those looks kind of janky sometimes. So for what this, I am assuming this budget is, and they're looking directly at this like shadow monster, pretty good, honestly.
Yeah. It conceals a lot, and like I think that's really a necessity, but it works out to its benefit. You know, if they showed, if they didn't like darken that corner up just the right amount, I mean, I gotta think that the whatever actor's over there, it's a guy in a black skin suit and with long finger gloves.
Green
on
Man.
Shit. Yeah, it's green. It's black version of
Black
Green Man. Black Green Man.
I really love the bookends of those sort of like coast to coast radio talk show happening in
Me too, yeah.
It's something about that. It's just it gives me like the warm fuzzies. It's like real nostalgic and like late night radio people talking about like seeing alien abductions happening and stuff on Halloween. It's just like that's the shit right there. I am all about that vibe.
They specifically mention one, it's AM radio, which I feel like is kind of, a dying out thing with, with
dying for like 30 years. Yeah.
Well, I know, but even the idea of like playing the radio in your car or something, or turning a radio on at all is, not super common these days. So that, the kind of the warm glow of the tube radio. I mean, it's not tube, but you know what I'm saying? The AM.
Warm.
But also too, the kind of slow creep into suburbia, because that's kind of the aspect of this short too, for the most part, or the whole film thing, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of got this like suburbia aspect. Obviously, we're going into like Halloween aspects, but I don't know, something about this one kind of like creeping up on this dude's regular suburban house, like kind of coming into his window with that radio playing. It worked really. They capture a lot of good vibes with just like some basic things. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that I did pinpoint that I don't know. I gotta think. Part of me feels like it was intentional, and part of me doesn't. But when our guy sort of like, when he has suddenly a speaking line, and I think he's like waking up, maybe like the audio seems to be like rainy or something all of a sudden. Maybe it was even just. Did you guys not notice that? Maybe it was just my players, my streaming.
It didn't stick out to me.
I don't remember that.
It was like it sounded like tin can recording all of a sudden, and I don't know why. Like the music didn't really feel that way. The music, like the score, seemed fine, but I don't remember what exactly he said. But it was like, "Oh God, what time is it?" or some shit like that, and it sounded like, like it was kind of fucked up. I thought maybe like part of me is like maybe it's an intentional thing because now he is like on the mothership and they're just made the facsimile of his room. But I don't think that's what happened in the end of the
I don't think so. Yeah,
I was very maybe it could have just been a glitch in the stream, but in absence of that, I don't know what was going on.
Every time I wake up in the middle of the night to go piss, I'm like, oh God.
Maybe.
Oh,
Gotta ask Alice.
What time is it?
Oh God. Oh God.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, I'm living a nightmare.
Yeah, this one's super straightforward. There's not really much else to dissect in it. There's not much going on, but it's effective. I like it.
So, and maybe this added, I mean, I think the short was done well because all the reasons we mentioned, but also this one, I think wasn't particularly Halloweeny. And actually it kind of felt appropriate for the time I'm living in right now, which is like, creeping up on suburbia and sci-fi. I particularly kind of lean more towards sci-fi stuff in the early part of the year because it just there's no other vibes going on, and it just seems like a good time to kind of cover sci-fi and stuff. And so I don't know this, and it almost kind of gets me a little excited for like the summertime or whatever. It had like warmer vibes to me, or not Halloween vibes.
Sharknado gave me a boner.
So yeah,
summer vibes, baby.
That helped out for me.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they opened this one on like a somewhat decked out Halloween lawn. But I think that's really the end of it. Like, is it was just like the pan in as the radio is starting to play over it and stuff. They mentioned that in the audio whatever commentary, and also this was the same room that the dead girl was found in the first short. So like, it feels like a neighborhood came together to make a movie. That's what it really feels like.
It's just like a dude who has a house.
We got this house. Yeah.
My mom has this house.
My mom, yeah. If you're a filmmaker, that's probably more appropriate.
Yeah. Well, let's keep rolling on here. The next little segment is actually the longest one. It's about a half hour long. It's called "They Live Inside Us." And if you do dig this one, like I said, there's a feature-length version of this by the same name, also on Amazon Prime. You can stream. And here goes the plot synopsis. So we see a dude walk into a house. He spends the night. It's a haunted-ass house. Spends the night on Halloween. He's hoping to be inspired. He's trying to write a new book. The house's previous owner, his name was John Booth. He apparently murdered his wife.
Jacob.
Jacob. Thank you. Jacob Booth murdered his wife and shot himself in the head while sitting at his desk. The dude sits at that very desk and tries to write several stories. We see these stories play out as he's coming up with the ideas. One of the stories is about a mass killer. One of them is about a creepy-ass clown. And there's another one he tries to write about a scarecrow chasing a girl through the cornfields. He then begins writing a story about the Booth house. The Booth house itself. We see a dude sees a ghost like downstairs. He walks downstairs and he sees the girl laying on the floor. She's bleeding out. She's dying. He tries to help her. And then he looks down at his hands and they're super bloody. And it turns out he himself is holding the knife and has killed her. And it turns out. I know, gasp. It turns out he has killed her, and he also then goes upstairs, sits at the desk, and shoots himself in the head. He is indeed the Booth ghost, haunting the house, doomed to repeat this memory over and over again. Roll them credits. This one is the most elaborate, and I think it also like tries its hand at the comedy, and I think some of it is successful. Like when we see these flashes of these other stories he's trying to write and stuff, there's some comedy happening
knife to
there.
meet you.
Yeah, but it does also probably lean the most into the like doom and gloom stuff too, like with the girl dying on the floor. Like it's got the most effects happening too. Just generally speaking, it seems to have somewhat of a budget.
The most in general.
Yeah, it's in
this mansion at the house.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that was ask for forgiveness sort of situation. Yeah. That also did not look like a harvest festival. It looked like a summer carnival, but you know, you do what you can. I mean, this one is definitely the most elaborate. It's definitely got the most like emotional firepower at its disposal, I would say. Like it tells a true story. There's an arc here that is very, very clear. It's not completely baseline. I think it's kind of an interesting idea. It reminded me actually of Hill House, Haunting on Hill House from the beginning, because the very opening of that show and the ending, it's bookended by I forget what the character's name is, but one of the kids, the writer, dictating his book where he's talking about how ghosts are memories lingering behind or whatever. And it's kind of a similar thing where it's defining what ghosts and, hauntings are. And what's interesting, like this came out like 5 years before that. So good on them for beating old Flanagan to the punch. I thought it was really interesting. And like, I didn't totally see it coming. This was a rug pull that did surprise me to some extent. Because it was kind of like fluctuating in tone a little bit. Like you guys said, like there's some comedic moments in there, which are kind of fun. And like, I think land okay for me. But it strikes me as strange. And then also it's a little misleading feeling because they say that the killing happened 30 years ago. This was 2014. So that would have been 84. And this guy throughout the entirety of the show is typing out scripts on a MacBook Pro. So I was a little like weirded out by that. I don't know. It's a little inconsistent.
Well, that's what I was wondering if it could be like a cool idea if like people move into the house and the ghost kind of like takes on the times, but it still like relives. But they didn't do anything to explain that, like keeping up with the times, like no matter what, you're still stuck in this like story of what happens because I guess he does use like an old school kind of telephone, which is weird, but
like they go to great lengths to make the house itself. They talk about this in the commentary. Is somebody's house. Obviously, it's been renovated specifically to look time appropriate. So they put the effort into making that the case, but it doesn't look run down.
It looks
like
great.
It has been closed up for 30 years. It looks pristine.
Yeah.
And then he's operating on a
mess up your mom's
new
house.
MacBook.
Yeah.
And then he's using tropes, horror movie monster tropes that I think are more easily defined after 1984 in a lot of those cases.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so like, I feel like, it gives you something to figure out, but it has some like pretty significant and inconsistent red herrings to make that happen. So I was a little bit put off by that, but overall, like I liked the story arc of him, like figuring it out and realizing, oh, he's the ghost that can't move on because he can't face what he's done. Great. I think that's a cool idea.
I did and I didn't like this because one of the things for me is like when I was like looking at, like the setup of this, and I had already gone through 3 shorts, with the longest being, I think, 14 minutes, again, with the opening and closing credits. So not a lot of time. And then I get to this one, and it's the only one, like 30 minutes. This takes up a third of this. And then a majority of this story, though, is this guy telling the same story over. So even when Bob was like, yeah, this is a full-length feature, I was like, what? Because 30 minutes with opening and closing credits is a lot of 3 stories, the same story being told with just a different setting. And so it's like, whoa, that's kind of, really filled out. So I don't know how they did this into like a full length. I skimmed through the full length movie. I didn't want to watch the whole thing. I had other things going on, but it's pretty similar, but there's a lot of differences. Like there's a little girl involved. The guy is like, I don't know. I don't remember the exact setup or whatever, but it's quite different. And they do like add things into it to sort of fill it out. I don't know that it's I don't know if it helps it very much though. Okay. And by the end, if I don't want to spoil it or anything in case anybody is interested, but there's, I think, a pretty key difference to how the lore is handled that kind of comes into focus by the end. Which I think probably helped it in a longer runtime. But for this short, I feel like they could have trimmed maybe, I don't know, at least 5 to 10 minutes off of those bits that are ultimately just gags at the end of the day. Of the clown saying "knife to meet you" or like whatever, like not the clown, whoever, like those little comedic beats, those can happen more quickly and with more punch. And that actually makes the rest of the actual arc of your story a little stronger. Different kind of story, because it's like every single time it's just the same girl getting chased by a different monster in a different setting.
Played by him.
Yeah, so if it had been, the first one's a chase scene, and this, you could still do the same kind of idea, but just because he's going through different, I know he's going through monsters, but essentially he's going through like different kind of like horror movies. And we've already seen 3 other shorts that, one is sci-fi based, one is, slasher based, one is, possessed toy based, which have different vibes, but
I kind of thought when he started on that first one, the like where it's a mass killer, I was like, well, this is the first short. Holy shit. So is this like going to be metatextual stuff about writing those shorts?
I thought so,
and going to add extra context to those. I thought that was fucking wild. I was like, oh, did this just turn into like an amazing meta movie? Like
that would have been great if it were the last one. And right. And that like used even some cut footage, or like they reshot it, but like in a goofy, like an even lower budget seeming way. Like that would have been.
And it's also like, it also seems kind of self-effacing because it's showing like the process of trying to make ideas and it going terribly.
You're just
so
going
like there's definitely
tropes,
some Mary Sue or like some self-insert going on, and I think it would have like been really great if they commented directly on those shorts.
I think so too. I think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity there.
It would have made them feel like they actually had a point to them. Like they were entertaining in and of themselves, but ultimately it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if we're looking at a ghost who's being forced to relive this traumatic experience because, according to what they tell you, he refuses to face it. It's like, why would we see him like writing these like comedic ass like little short? It doesn't quite fit into the overall.
I don't think he's trying to write comedy, and that's what makes it funny.
Well, yeah,
it just lands as comedy. So
yeah, I just don't.
Same net effect though.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make sense in context with the overall story when you find out what it's actually about. I thought that this like the twist ending on this was like extremely like well advertised. Like as soon as the movie starts, they tell you like, ghosts are doomed to repeat the same thing over and over again, and then we find out this dude's a writer and he's sitting in a creepy haunted house where a writer killed himself and his wife, and it's like, oh, he's the guy. He is the guy. It's just he's doing this thing.
I see. I didn't peg that one this time. That's so interesting that I had kind of like the opposite experience on both of those rug pulls that the other one we mentioned.
It does. I love the atmosphere and like the setting. The house is incredible. Like the blood and the guts with like the girl like popping in and out, like laying in the stairwell, and she kind of like reaches around him with her hands, and like it's got some actual like spooky stuff happening in this, and I think it's generally effective, but maybe a little bit too. It was a little too obvious for me, I guess, and overall a little too long. I think
she's effective, like when she is, she's leaning over him at the very end, and he's reaching into the desk for the gun. I like how I thought that those moments were effective, but I agree it's too long. If this were, I feel like this could down to half, and then it definitely would have been like probably the best short at that point. But because it stretches itself out so long, it kind of like dilutes, it's diluted a little bit, and so it just feels like a little like stretched too thin for the length that it is, and kind of loses some of that impact for me.
Yeah.
I also think that like this actor, like I still think, to my mind, this is the best one of the bunch, even with the flaws that we're pointing out or the missed opportunities and so on. But there were some interesting things going on. I think that this James Morris, actor / director, I think this is his best performance, certainly, like from the beginning of this one. Like, and I know that a lot of his characters before this were like pretty comedic. Like he did the Svengoolie aping and all those like he cut the chicken in half and all that shit. And he wasn't given a whole lot else, but like I was like reasonably pleased with his performance. Yeah. It wasn't always great, but I feel like it was mostly pretty good and probably the standout in the movie for me. I don't know. I think I wrote this note, and you guys, you can trim this out if you want, but it made me laugh that I wrote, just realized this is definitely the Ben Shapiro origin story. Look, he looks like him. He's a terrible screenwriter, and he isn't satisfying his romantic partner. 3 for 3.
Yeah.
All right.
I had to add that because it made me laugh so much. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that the woman who plays his wife does a good job. I think that maybe it is pretty telegraphed, and I think a shorter runtime would help that, and maybe a little bit more oblique language at the beginning. But for the most part, I liked that there was a true arc to this that felt like it came from a real place of emotional draw instead of just like wrote, oh shit, there's something in the corner or whatever, like. That stuff's fine, but this actually brought a little bit of pathos to it, The rest of the shorts to me feel like sequences of moments, and this one kind of feels like an arc and then a release.
A full story. Yeah. I feel you. Let's go ahead and get into this last one here. The final segment is called Is That You? And the synopsis is as follows. On Halloween, we find a young girl watching TV while she's waiting for her friends to come by and hang out. She sees a creepy woman in black standing across the street staring at her. She then hears her mom downstairs open the door for trick-or-treaters, and it sounds like her mom gets knocked out or falls on the floor. The woman in black comes up the stairs, and the girl sees her, is terrified, and locks her bedroom door. The woman in black enters, the lights cut out, and the little girl gets dragged into the hallway, into the darkness by the woman in black. So it's another like very straightforward short. There's not like a ton happening here, but it does open up with this little like song here, which children's rhyme. A child's rhyme
about a witch.
It says on All Hallows Eve she comes with the wind. As darkness descends, she'll find a way in. Those who have seen her, they go to the black. For once you have seen her, you never come back. So I like that. I thought that was a nice way to start this thing off. Bit of folklore, even though it's pretty straightforward. You definitely feel the low budget on this one, but I think for when you do see the woman in black, for the most part, it's generally effective, I think.
I think it was... Honestly, I think that the witch, the woman, or the creature, whatever, is pretty fucking great looking in the confines of this movie. I think it's the best looking thing in the movie, probably on its own. Its only major competition being the alien in the corner. I think those two are like the standout effects in the whole thing for me, for sure. And that's honestly, like, if it wasn't for that, in this particular short, I don't know that I would care for it very much because it's pretty light, and it's weird to end the movie on such a light affair. Like, the acting in it is pretty rough in my opinion, and there's not a whole lot to hang your hat on here. On the commentary, like, they were like, oh, we tried to like fill out the characters of whatever, Tina and Ron, the people on that she's texting with, but we tried to do it through the phone. I was like, so like their whole thing was they tried to build character by having people react to him like, ugh, and I'm like, that's not building a character, really. I don't know. I respect the effort, but that's not doing it.
I like the Count Spookula character on the television she's watching. It's like a late night horror host, super hammy.
That's James Morris again.
I love that shit. Like, this girl just like texting her friends on Halloween, chilling, eating candy, watching bullshit, waiting for her friends to come by.
She's got a broken leg.
Yeah, they probably could have turned this into more of a Rear Window situation instead of having her get taken out like so quickly herself. But I don't know. Yeah. I do like the close-up shots of the witch, though. They are effective.
Yeah, if she had this could have been. I feel like there's not really any kind of real narrative here. They set it up at the beginning with the short, but I think you're right. And honestly, probably could have helped a little bit with the effects and stuff, which I do think look good. But if she had witnessed this exact same situation happen across the street, but and then the very end, the witch like turns in the window and catches her, because the whole thing is like, once you're seen, you're not going to be saved.
She has to hobble downstairs to try and warn mom or something. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take much.
Something. Yeah, but like, you could even leave it on that ambiguous ending. You don't even need the witch up close, So Or like if she's texting her friend and her friend lives
Mhm.
across the street, she sees her go upstairs with her boyfriend or whatever, but then like she sees the witch like creeping up the stairs or going through the back door, so something like that. There's just no narrative here really.
It's literally just somebody standing outside the window on Halloween. This girl looks and sees it and asks her mom what's going on, and then the thing disappears, and then she hears her mom fall, and that's it. And then she gets attacked, and that's it. I mean, it really isn't. There really isn't anything to. There's no story here, unfortunately. It doesn't feel like one anyway. So I don't know. Like to me, it landed kind of weak, but I really did like that effect a lot, and it helped me place it on my ranking list a little easier.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to bring up though also is that in the movie version of They Live Inside Us, that's Dr. Spookula or whatever, he's in there. I actually feel like they kind of combined a lot of elements from the other shorts into that movie too. Not necessarily in direct ways, but like similar similar scares or like similar like concepts are like interwoven into it a little bit, which is kind of neat to see after watching this. But I'd have to watch the whole thing to really be clear on how much of that is really in there. You know what I mean? I only skipped around, like I said. So,
all right, yeah. There's not a whole lot to like pull apart on this one because it's so simple. But let's go ahead and rate the entirety of this. Even though it's basically like a season of a TV show, we're going to rate this whole thing as one piece, as if it was just a straight up anthology. And we can. You guys want to rank them, or you want to just pick like your favorite one of the batch, or how do you
rank them?
You rank them out of
Let's
5?
It's easy enough,
1 through 5. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and do it then. Juicy J, why don't you kick us off, man? How do you feel?
So as far as the ranking, I think my favorite one was the Alien one. Still short and sweet. I feel like good effects, smart decisions, the AM radio, the alien vibes and stuff like that. Because we've seen some anthologies and they always seem to throw some aliens in there, and they usually like are pretty rough. So for this one being an alien one, it's pretty solid, especially for the limited budget. So I'm gonna go. That one is my number one. Number deuce, I will go the long one. They Live Inside of Us, because that also had some solid effects and a good rug pull and stuff like that. Some of the best acting. Number 3, I think I'll go, I guess, the slasher one, because it did kind of subvert expectations and kind of set that up, and it had some decent tension. And then 4, I'll go the witch one, and then 5, I'll go princess. So that's my ranking. And overall, I think I'll give this like a 2. It's fun a little bit. For the season, like I think that was a good recommendation, Bob, to say like if you threw this on while you were handing out candy or something, where you can come in and out, you get some good Halloween visuals. You don't have to pay too much attention. Every now and then the music comes on, and that's cool because it's got great Halloween vibes on that end. But yeah, this is a bunch of shorts made by like what seems like friends on super low budgets at the same house over and over again, and so it's like scrappy and decent for what it is, but it's going to be like severely limited, as far as like overall, scoring goes. So yeah, I think a 2 is fair for me. Bob, out of 5 and your ranking 1 to 5, what are you going to give the witching season?
Hello.
Yes, that is the film we've been talking about for over an hour.
For around. Yeah, I think my favorite is Not Alone, the alien one. I think it nails the vibe that it's going for the best. And then second to that, They Live Inside Us would be the runner-up for sure. It's a little long in the tooth, but I think is the most fleshed out story, obviously. And then I think I'd go Is That You for my third one. I dig that little like nursery rhyme thing, and like the visuals of the witch are like really effective. I think and it also brings like the Halloween vibes pretty well. And then number 4 is Killer on the Loose with the slasher subversion. And then last place would be Princess. And yeah, I don't know that I have too much else to add. I think it's like a decent effort for some low budget filmmakers, just trying to put together something kind of like fun and playing on a whole series of different like tropes and subgenres and doing like achieving like decent scares and decent like moments generally pretty effectively. So yeah, it definitely feels like a labor of love, and I appreciate the ingenuity that's kind of going into making this thing happen. So I'm gonna come in with a 2.75, I think, for this one. Randeezy.
Oh wow,
how do you feel?
Wait, what was your score, Bob?
2.75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're going to be quite happy because I think I have the exact same ranking in order as you do, Bob. Yeah, so my number 1 was, like I said earlier, They Live Inside Us. To me, like, it's not the scariest.
That's already different.
Yeah, already different.
Is it? Oh, you know what? You're right. No, that was the only difference, though. I was shocked.
Just like you, Bob.
Just like you. I want to be just like Bob. No, I think that my number. Okay, so I got that wrong. But They Live Inside Us was my number 1, and to me, it's like the thing that makes one of the things that makes this sort of like production that's low budget, that's clearly labor of love, like I've been talking about, so endearing to me and charming, is the level of ambition, and that is by far the most ambitious one. They really threw all their chips down on that one, and I think they came out with a pretty half decent product for considering the limitations that they have. I was interested in the story. It had more of a story than any of the others. It felt more like a story. It had an emotional core. It had some pathos in there. It even had some decent scares. I really liked, not even scares, but like spookiness. There was like the painted black hands that try and go around his neck at one point, and like sort of like the downer ending. And I don't know. I also was surprised to a certain. I was surprised by the rug pull in this one. So yeah, that was my number 1. The scariest one to me is my second choice, which is Not Alone, the alien one, because it just has like a pretty effective monster in the corner situation. Reminded me very much of The Nightmare, and by virtue of that, Night Terrors, or not Night Terrors, excuse me. Sleep paralysis, dreams, those sorts of things, which are terrifying to me in general. So it kind of played to my strengths there. It looked pretty good. It was short and sweet. All the things Juice said, I agree with on that one, and Rob as well. My number 3 was Is That You? The last one, which honestly wouldn't be there if it wasn't for such a great effect, I think, on the witch. I think that looked really, really good, and it made it all worth the squeeze. If it had been even a minute longer, maybe not. If it had done just a few more interesting things, maybe it would have been higher. I don't know. It had a lot of room to grow and not a whole lot on the table, but at least one of the pieces on the table really hit me in the right spot. So, and I also like the Svengoolie stuff, even though it was kind of done already at that point. So that's my number 3. Number 4 was the first one, The Killer on the Loose. I thought that like it telegraphed its ending to me. At least I saw that one coming, and I don't know. It seemed very thin. Even the cat and mouse sections to me were not that tension filled, because I was like, he can see you. Like he can definitely see you. I did like the musical score that they pulled from Night of the Living Dead. I thought that was clever, but otherwise it doesn't have a whole lot of meat for me. And then Princess was my lowest. I've already basically laid out why. Overall, I'm going to agree with Juice. Give it a 2 flat. I give 1 point really for, for the enjoyment I did get out of it. And then like another one, and for like whatever positives we have, put that in there. The score, the theming, like that stuff really like pushed it a long way. And then the second point is really for being fucking like a scrappy, charming production of people who just wanted to make some spooky shit. I really, how am I going to hate on that? So that gets a 2 from me.
Right on. That's going to put our aggregate at a 2.25, 2 1/4. And our boy Matt, who chose this film, did send over an email with some of his own thoughts and his own rating. Juice, do you have that?
I do. Ready?
Oh,
What up, Straight Chillin' crew? I hope you all enjoyed The Witching Season, not The Witching Hour, booby. This anthology really impressed me and has become part of my yearly Halloween rotation. It sets a tone that pulls at the horror nostalgia of my childhood, which modern horror movies rarely encapsulate. The closest similar feeling for me would be the first season of Stranger Things. The Witching Season really shows that good writing and stylization are more important than budget. The intro to each installment is perfect in every way. The music is by an artist named Slasher Dave, and they have a ton of music that will be perfect for any Halloween party. Killer on the Loose and Not Alone are my favorite installments, while Choppy the Clown is a top-tier character design. All in all, I give The Witching Season a 4.25.
Oof.
Hard with Soul Juice, signed Bridge Troll Matt.
Who is
All
that?
right.
Soul
Juice.
Yeah.
That's a throwback.
Just let your soul juice.
let me juice that soul.
I think when Matt came out with that, man, that was like back in 2018. He was like, I thought that's what y'all were saying instead of soju.
Soul juice.
He legit thought it was soul juice.
If you didn't know what
Forgot about that.
soju was, like I could see
Yeah.
it.
Why not?
Soul juice. Hard with soul juice. Awesome, Matt. Yeah,
All right.
thanks for picking this one, Matt. Solid ass rating from your boy Matt S for sure.
One last thing before we continue. I just wanted to bring this up because we were so into like the intro for this and the Slasher Dave score and like putting it. We mentioned putting it on during a party. The Witching Season's YouTube channel has like 5 hour plus long videos of just that.
Nice.
It looks like the perfect thing for a Halloween party.
That's
honestly.
cool.
All
That's
right.
cool.
They know what they got. They know what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Right on. Cool. So there.
Appreciate ya.
Yeah. Hashtag
Witching that will-
appreciate you. Witching not hour, but saison. Witching saison. There really isn't much of a rating. There is no rating for this on Rotten Tomatoes. And there's not much in the way of trivia outside of what Randeezy over here sprinkled throughout our conversation. So we are going to roll right on into our Cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the
Juice, what is a Cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Bob, you stupid slut. A Cooter.
God damn.
is a straight.
Holy shit.
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you limp liquor?
Juice is the Cooter
Cooters.
this week.
Cooter's a
God
character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter. We want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points of Cooterdom are sexual deviancy, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, is there a Cooter in this kind of anthology thing?
I think that we're going to have a tough time pinpointing enough characterization in anybody besides maybe the guy in They Live Inside or whatever. I honestly don't know who to bring up.
I don't know either. Because like the
Juice, do you have somebody in mind? You look like you're hiding a secret. You're sitting on an egg over there.
Well, no, I was thinking maybe the husband from the house that killed his wife.
Yeah. But we don't know why. It was probably justified. Stand your ground.
Okay, Randy's the Cooter now.
yeah, we don't know really anything about
I
him other
accept
than
that
he's
fate.
obsessed with his writing. Well, that's kind of
Well, we could say he's like kind of a little pathetic because he's just like ripping off a bunch of like old horror tropes.
Well, we know he won't face what he's done. That's why he's doomed to repeat it. We know that.
Those
So
are two
that's
pathetic things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manipulate? No,
Manipulation.
I don't
I
think so.
guess not. Yeah, since we
Sexual
don't really
deviance
have him
is not
interacting
in this
with
movie.
smug arrogance. No shit. Okay, how about the secret killer woman? How about her? in the first
Well,
short.
she manipulates the audience, or the film does anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sexual deviance? No, not really. Manipulation? I don't see it. Smug arrogance?
She's also
Tough
like,
to say.
she's got mental problems too, though. Like, we don't know what those are.
right.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know how to.
maybe-
I don't know how to
maybe
chalk
that
that one up.
fucking-
Probably hormones.
that fucking rabbit, that murderous bunny. That's
Hey, that's not a terrible call.
Yeah, okay.
Princess. Maybe Princess is a cooter. That's
Maybe.
maybe Princess is a cooter, says Randy.
maybe.
Manipulation, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
especially
manipulates the
manipulating the
little
little girl. Yeah.
We don't get a lot of like. We don't know if it's smug arrogance. I don't know.
Oh, that bunny's smug as fuck.
Okay, it's very smug. We've decided that.
I know it.
Sexual deviancy.
Overall,
maybe,
looking at Tyre, it looks
no.
kind of whack.
Yeah.
It's got like a little mustache thing or something.
I've seen these kinds of dolls before. I think this is like a genuinely like a mass-produced doll from like the 70s or 60s or some shit.
It looks really weird.
I don't know that it's particularly unique in that regard. Like that was one thing that was like, I understand that it's like a little creepy looking, but to me it was like putting a melted Ken doll in that role or some shit. Like,
Why is it
like,
melted?
I guess
Why is the Ken doll
just
melted?
to make it monstrous
it
and to make it
weird,
creepy
yeah.
because it's not creepy on its own.
Yeah. Just draw a little mustache on this rabbit. That'll be good. A little Hitler
I don't know.
mustache.
I don't think that we have a strong cooter
I don't think
candidate.
so either.
Yeah.
I think we're stretching this pretty thin.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we
well,
are. Cooter of the Week's
We
Matt.
tried, Matt. We tried.
Matt's our cooter. Congratulations.
Yeah. Who makes a man watch Halloween
Who makes
movies
a
in
man?
April?
You gotta be smug as fuck to do something like that.
Who does
and you
that to
clearly
a
want to
man?
bang us, so there's sexual deviance involved.
Well, that's clear. Yeah.
Everybody knows that. You dress perfectly, so that's fine. That's not an issue.
Yeah.
You dress impeccably, as we all know.
You manipulated all of us into thinking it was Halloween. Matt is our cooter of the week. We found him. We got him.
We got him.
Lock
I'm
him
sure
up.
he is tickled to hear that.
Throw away the key. I don't want to tickle him at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't lie to me.
I'm a
The
real
cooter Hitler.
Christianity.
That sounds like a religion I could get behind, if I'm being honest.
I know you could, Bob. I know you could.
That's our cooter of the week. It's Matt. We got him. Let's go ahead and kick our feet up, chill out, and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Ray and Deezy, what you been watching, man?
My gosh, there's been quite a few things. We skipped last week, so it's stacked up a little bit. In preparation for a few guest spots, I watched both The Stepford Wives and Santa Sangra, which I mentioned earlier. Yeah, so you'll have to hear our commentary on
That's a wild
Stepford Wives
movie,
when
man.
Plug It Up drops it. Yeah, and then you've seen Santa Sangra, that's right.
I have, yeah. It's nuts in the
Yeah.
butts. I look forward to hearing your
It is.
conversation.
I
It
thought you
was
were
a
talking
very
about
interesting
Stepford
movie.
Wives.
No,
Yes, like,
That's a wild movie, man.
That's pretty tame.
blew my shit.
Blew my shit in half.
Yeah, it just blew my shit. No, that's not true. Anyway, I've been steadily working my way through Poker Face, the Natasha Lyonne Columbo alike that is on Peacock. It's quite good, very enjoyable, and I'm got like 2 episodes left in the season. I've heard that the season ender is a banger. I'm excited to get there.
Is the Lady
started
Gaga track the opening song? The opening.
It is
theme?
not. It's not remotely mentioned, and
Real
I'm
missed
very
opportunity
okay with it.
there.
Yeah, a
would've
real missed
cost
opportunity to
way
spend
too
like
much fucking
50
money.
grand or some
They
shit.
really overlooked that one.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
thought of that.
That
Nobody.
that unremembered gem of a song that only us true music heads have any clue
From
about.
Lady Gaga.
I've been watching a little bit of a creepypasta alternate reality game type of thing called the Mandela Catalog on YouTube, which I quite enjoy, an analog horror sort of deal. It's pretty good. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I've only seen maybe a quarter of it. There's a lot of it, but I'm enjoying it. Let's see. I finally got to see Banshees of Inisherin, and it's quite good. I was very, very into that movie. It's a good fucking movie. Finding out a little bit more about like what it's like an analogy for and stuff like that. Like it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And goddamn, those performances are so good, and it really is. It has a lot to chew on. As we all know, I like to chew. I like to chew on shit.
Man,
I like
had
to
it
chew on
not come out the
shit.
same year as fucking Everything Everywhere All at Once, they would have been.
I know, it
racking
really
up those
could have.
awards.
I know, and like I mean, that movie, I love that movie. That was my favorite movie last year, so I'm not going to be upset that it won awards and that a good movie got
I'm upset.
recognized. But Banshees of Inisherin, it deserves some fucking recognition.
Yeah.
It's great.
It was really good.
Also watched Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which I had not seen. Steve Martin and what's that fucker's name? Michael Caine. An 80s film about two con men pooling their resources. It's very fun and funny. It's directed by oh shit, who was it? He's director of Stepford Wives. I'm blanking.
I don't know.
Frank Oz.
Frank Oz, thank you. Directed by Frank Oz, also directed Little Shop of Horrors, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Wow.
Directed Stepford Wives, which we watched for this for Plug It Up. And I was just like very interested in his work, so I watched Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and it is quite enjoyable. Not the best of those, but it is quite enjoyable. And then last but certainly not least, never least, I've been rewatching and finding new to me Mystery Science 3000 shorts to watch. Always the best. Those fucking things rule. They're so funny. That's like Mystery Science Theater 3000 and The Simpsons are like the two commercial properties that best define my sense of humor as like that defined my sense of humor for a certain time. And man, it still hits just right. So great stuff. That's it for me.
Right on. Soul Juice. What you been watching?
Dude, so Always Sunny in Philadelphia is on Disney Plus here, which is dope. So I've been going through some of the later seasons that I never got a chance to watch. I think I'm around season 12 right now. And it's still like cracking me up. You know, every now and then there's like an episode which like when Dennis left and then like came back, that was like a little bit of a lull. But for the most part, it's like still really cracking me up and really funny. So I've been enjoying that. Been watching some Modern Family as well. Never really watched Modern Family before, but actually it's tickling me pretty good for a little sitcom. So as I don't think any have come out so far, but I've mentioned, I think, a couple times on What You've Been Watching, but I am doing some classic TV shows for some of our reviews, our mini cast this year. And as a part of that, I have started watching the first season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which has been a long time since I've watched Buffy. And it's wild because it's such a time capsule. And just my mom used to watch that like back in the day when it was like coming out and stuff. So yeah, it's wild to like kind of go back and visit and see kind of like how campy and like goofy it is, but also like the 90s goth style and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, but I haven't made it all the way through yet. I did watch The Stepford Wives. That was the first time watch for me for Plug It Up. Also, speaking of Plug It Up, I watched The Butterfly Effect with old Ashton Kutcher from I think 2003, because that's going to be an upcoming Creature Comforts. That's going to be the that's going to be the April release, featuring Caitlin from Plug It Up. So I'm really excited about that one. And I was talking with the Brit recently over some alcohol, and
who's a Brit?
And Guy Ritchie came up, and I was considering, like, it had been a long time since I had gone through his catalog. Some of his like older stuff is a lot of my favorite films, especially like kind of growing up. And I hadn't seen his film Revolver. I think I'd only seen it once, which stars fucking Andre 3000 is in that movie. Also, Pussy from The Sopranos is in that movie.
Wow.
And so I watched that again. It was a wild movie. I remember it being one of his more weird or abstract films, and that still kind of like holds up. It's kind of like this gangster movie, but it's got a lot of like weird psychological things going on. But interesting film. And let's see. I think I'll stop it there for this week. Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
Oh, hey. Rewatching some good stuff. Working through The Office, which, unsurprisingly, it's still very funny. I threw on Scott Pilgrim this past week as well. It's still good. Edgar Wright can make a hell of a movie. That dude is, I don't know, he's just banging on all cylinders. His movies have such an energy about them. They're like, they move at a pace that just like, it's just exciting to like watch something that he's done. If you haven't seen that, I recommend it. I know, I feel like when it came out, it got a lot like shit on pretty hard. It's definitely like a cult movie now. It's people are aware of it for sure. But if you haven't seen it, it's pretty.
I think it had a backlash, but I don't think it was right away.
Yeah, I would say more like it was positive around that time, and then like as years have gone by, like it was on recently. Like I think when I was back home, and I was kind of watching it, and I was like, oh, some of this is like kind of
some of it fucking
holding
holds
up well.
I think that a majority of it holds up, especially Culkin in that movie. He is so fucking funny.
Culkin, kicks ass. Yeah. Culkin is one of the bright spots for sure.
It's hard to like old Scott, and I don't think you're really supposed to.
I think that's the thing is that dude's like really shitty and like the weirdest guy. Like that time era too, and and wrapping him in all the kind of like nostalgia of like the Zelda sounds and making him the hero. And
I mean, he is the hero, but as soon as the movie starts, all of his friends are like, "You're a fucking loser." Like you realize what you're doing is wrong. Like I don't think it like hides any of it, but I mean,
his journey is not being that anymore at the end, and that's fine. But I don't think we see enough of that to really be convinced, maybe. Yeah. But,
he's not a great guy. Don't be like Scott Pilgrim, but watch the movie.
Yeah.
It's good.
I don't want to be Walter White either, but give me that show. I'll watch it.
Yeah. Also, John Wick 4 is coming out this week. So I started rewatching the John Wick movies. I watched the first 2 this week. They hold up.
Never seen them.
They're really, really fun action movies. Keanu Reeves fucking kills it. Those movies are so fucking good. I dig them quite a bit.
They're really good. I watched 3 too a while back. Like I think again over the break, and it was a little like. But I've heard good things about 4 already. Good buzz.
Yeah, 3 has always been my least favorite. I haven't seen it since it came out, so I want to rewatch that one this week for sure, and then check out 4. Hopefully 4 is great. The 1 and 2 are like bangers for sure. Definitely dig them.
Let's hope it follows the Scream rubric.
Oh, yeah, we'll find out. And then I watched the first 2 episodes of this new show that's on Amazon called Swarm. It was co-created and co-written by Donald Glover, and I am totally blanking on the other person that he wrote it with. I'd have to googe that.
Oh, it's kind of horror-based, isn't it?
It is definitely horror-based, yeah.
It's.
I think it's like 6, maybe 8 episodes.
Janine Neighbors?
Yeah, that sounds right, yeah. And it's difficult to describe, like kind of like Atlanta, how Atlanta has like a weird vibe to it. This kind of has a similar vibe where it feels like Atlanta, but definitely more horror focused. There's a lot of it's hard to talk about without spoiling it. There's some blood and guts happening for sure. It's about a girl. A young woman who is very much a
reverend around the whole world.
She's a super fan of this like pop star, and when you're a fan of this pop star, you're considered like part of the swarm. And if you talk shit about her, like they have this saying, like if you talk shit, you get stung. So like that plays into her
That's
character
Beyonce.
quite a bit. It is. It's definitely
The bee,
It's literally
the Bayhive
like the
might
bee
have something
thing.
to say. That.
it is definitely commenting on Beyonce and just like super fandom in general for sure. But I don't know. I'm excited to see what else the show has in store. I've been enjoying the first 2 episodes quite a bit. So Swarm. It is on Amazon. Maybe we'll do a mini cast on that. That seems appropriate. Yeah.
Oh,
We need to get us some super fans
No, I don't think we do.
who will attack.
Just like
for us.
regular ass fans, or just people
You
that
know-
can tolerate us is fine. Really,
dude, yeah, that's the bar I'm aiming for. If we get a super fan,
I do not
mean-
want that.
yeah,
Maybe we've already had a couple.
is that the one?
That's a
is that the
bonus
reason there's a
episode.
guy hanging out outside my window with a "You're number one" sign all day?
That'll be a Patreon exclusive episode where we talk about all the weird shit we have encountered since podcasting.
Also, too, I would be really intrigued for Donald Glover to try his hand at directing a horror film. I think he can do it.
Dude, yeah, he can. I totally believe he can.
That man's very talented.
Too talented. It's wild.
Yes.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Everything he does is fucking good. I don't know. But yeah,
I need a fucking guy finally buckle in and watch Atlanta. I kind of want to watch this. I love the guy's work, and I just have not like saddled up for the whole ride on any of that.
I
So a
feel
movie
like
would be
I'm
fucking incredible because I could taster it a little bit.
I watched the first season a while back, and I feel like I'm hesitant to go through the rest of it because I like gotta prepare myself emotionally. Like I feel like I gotta get in a headspace.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah, it starts off a little like straight, and then it definitely starts taking some crazy turns. There's one episode of Atlanta that is just straight up horror. Straight up.
That's cool.
It's great. Watch Atlanta too while you're at it. Yeah, check that out. That's what I've been watching this week. That's all I really wanted to mention. Let's go ahead and get into our last segment of the show, which is, of course, our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
That horror episode of Atlanta is also just about a pop star, which is really interesting.
Are you doing?
Sorry,
You're just doing the Joe Bob thing. And now
back
and
to
now
the
next segment.
Back to
And
the
by the
discussion
way,
I
here's
was
12
just
more
having.
minutes of conversation.
Sorry.
Tangent.
Hotline Screams. If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on our next show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We don't have any voicemails this week. We did get an email from our boy Tyler last week where we threw out asking people to call in and tell us about like wild St. Patrick's Day stories because this past Friday was St. Patrick's Day. So we got this email from ya boy Tyler right here. He says, "Hello, fellows. Emailing you instead of calling in because I don't think anyone wants to hear my stutter. Crazy story. So I was, I think, 20 with my ex-fiance. We were in Boston for a Celtics game on St. Patty's weekend, which sounds wild already. And we went to a frat party one of her brothers was throwing. After hour and a half, 2 hours, I had to go use the bathroom. It was cracked. I didn't see a light on, so I walked in. Little did I know what I was walking into. I saw a huge guy, bare-ass naked, painted green, ass cheeks spread, and some girl doing a line of coke down that fat crack. Walked out. I went to my fiance. I said, "You want to see something you'll never... Do you want to see something you never will again? Go walk into that bathroom," which she did not. The girl comes out, finds me, starts to hug me, and tries to kiss me. And then I see my fiance just drop kick her. Then just some more immature altercations happen, yada, 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 and they left because definitely wasn't their thing. And hope everybody had a nice, happy, safe weekend. Your boy, Tyler. That's pretty wild.
Man.
Spring break forever.
That's a ridiculous fucking story.
Perfect.
St.
I've
Patty's
never
Day
seen that.
forever. I did not like that movie, but I've never seen anybody snort coke out of an asshole. Like, what?
Yeah, if you're gonna be doing,
dude, I don't understand.
Why is that the way you're gonna be doing?
That's just the Irish way, I guess.
Damn.
I don't know. We'll have to ask in Ireland if there's
People
any.
are making some decisions out there.
Some wild. Because you're also like literally sniffing that dude's asshole while you're snorting coke. Like,
oh yeah,
they have
Come on, moment of glory.
It's all like, and also like just your coke's got to be contaminated.
It's that coke's suddenly got a.
That man has been
got a racing stripe on.
Yeah, he's still in his green paint, so you know he's been rolling
Just
around all day St.
sweat.
Patty's Day.
It's
not clean.
Green, brown, and white. That's the
that old
that's
girl.
the color of that frat.
That girl got her some of that crack coke. You know what I'm saying? It's extra sweaty.
Yes, that's what a boy likes.
It started
That's
clumping
just-
because of all the butt sweat. You know, it's
Started
Oh,
clumping.
I'm sick. I want to throw up.
Oh God, that's terrible. Why?
Oh my god!
Why would you do it? Why would you?
And then if somebody came at me with their like poopy, cokey mouth, I don't know that I could. I don't know what I don't know what I would do. I might puke right in their face just to add to the cocktail.
She might like it.
She might. That might just be what she's in for. I don't know.
Do coke.
I
off
take
of your
no
puke.
ownership over whatever the fuck this girl is
She
doing.
likes the punishment, apparently.
Oh God.
Devil made me do it, did he?
Maybe that's what she's saying.
Oh my God.
Oh man, the Green Devil.
Great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I've never
wild.
seen anything like that. That's
My life feels pretty tame sometimes when people call in. I feel like
yeah.
I need to see some crazier shit
I need to do some coke out of some assholes just to get my rep up.
or see it at least.
I need somebody
Put anything in my ass. I'm desperate.
I need somebody to fart coke into my nose. That's what I need.
Damn. Oh God, Bob.
That's a waste of coke.
That's
Breathe it in, huff
hey,
it
to
in.
each their own. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Yeah. Thanks for the email, Tyler. That's fucking wild, man. Hope you had a nice, happy St. Patrick's Day. Hope everybody listening did as well. Again, if you guys have a St. Patrick's Day story, it's not too late. Feel free to call in and tell us what's up, and we'll play it on next week's show. You can hit us up at 904-638-3231. Do you guys have any other prompts you want to throw out for next week?
Well, our next big holiday coming up is Easter.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, what's some of your favorite religious horror? You know, you got any good
Christianity.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. So, Midnight Mass is one that's been popping up lately.
Midnight
I think
Mass.
Light and Shadow
like
is going to be doing a episode on that.
Mhm.
I considered, I didn't have a good guess. I was considering doing Passion of the Christ for Creature Comforts, maybe next year.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Randy's face. That's why I didn't jump the gun. I thought that I might need to do a lot of prep work for that one.
Yeah.
You should
You
get
got a
Randy's
mountain
mom
discovery
on
to
for
dig
that.
through.
HR Randy.
That's, man, that would be a bad call. For a number of reasons.
I gotta find a good guest for that one. Maybe the Pope will do it with me.
Oh, probably.
Hello, Pope.
It's the
You
Pope.
busy? You want to
You
do
wanna
a
do a
side
YouTube
podcast
show?
with me?
Hi, Pope.
I'm doing a spin-off of our podcast. You're in, right?
You want to in, all right?
You ever snorted coke out of a green man's sweaty ass crack, Pope?
I bet you have.
You sussy old bastard.
Saucy mix.
Anyways, so yeah, there's some good religious horror out there. I want to know what you're watching.
Yeah. Let us know what your favorite religious horror is, whether it's related to Christianity or fucking anything. Let us know. Call in 904
There's more than one religion out there.
3231.
What?
There's you can be Baptist, you can be Catholic, you can be
What about vegetarian?
Protestant,
Baptist?
you can be
Bohemian?
fucking vegetarian. You can smoke weed.
You can be diabetic.
Oh,
That's it. That's what we're doing. That's it. That wraps us up. We're gonna be back next week with a brand new show. As always, we're gonna be talking about the first Patreon pick for the second quarter of this year. This one was chosen by your girl Nicole, and the movie is Dave Made a Maze, and this is currently streaming on Shudder and Tubi as well, I believe. So check out Dave Made a Maze. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can find us on all the socials. Just search Straight Chilling, and you'll definitely find us. If you'd like to join in our daily Slack channel conversations, just let me know on one of those social media outlets. I'll send you a link so you can join in on the fun. We talk about the movie of the week, TV shows, video games, our animals, trade recipes, all kinds of shit. Join the Slack.
Can you jam with the console cowboys in cyberspace?
That too. You won't regret it. Yeah, that's going to do it for us this week at Straight Chilling. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Spring break forever.